So before Techtember officially starts, the tech season has already begun with the launch of the Pixel 10 series. Now, of course, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the base Pixel, the Pixel 10, but I've already made a video on the Pixel 10 Pro XL. It's a detailed review and comparison versus the Galaxy S25 Ultra. If you haven't watched it just yet, go check it out. A link should pop up right now. But the real question that people are asking online is if the Pixel 10 is actually a good upgrade over last year's Pixel 9, and how does it stack up against something like the iPhone 16, which is currently the world's best-selling smartphone. So today I'm going to be putting all these three base flagship phones in the ring. So design, display, camera, performance, software, battery, nothing is off the limits. Alright, let's begin this comparison. If you're here for the first time, I'm Ashad. This is Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. Now, all the three phones look very similar. They've got the same boxy design that you've come to expect from, the iPhone and the Pixel now. But of course, the one thing that stands out is the camera module, and I really like the Pixel's camera module, especially considering the fact that when you place the Pixels flat on a table, they don't wobble as much as the iPhone does. Also, it's a glass and metal sandwich design, so you get glass on the front, glass on the back, and of course a metal railing, basically an aluminum railing. And both these phones actually come with like a matte finish aluminum railing, which is something I prefer. With both the Pixels, what you get is Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2 protection on the front and the back, whereas iPhone actually comes with ceramic shield glass. And unfortunately, ceramic shield is a scratch magnet, and I actually prefer Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2. Now, the one thing that makes the iPhone 16 handy compared to the Pixel 9 and the Pixel 10 is the fact that it's slimmer, it's smaller, and that it is lighter compared to both the Pixel 9 and the 10. In fact, the Pixel 10 this year, because it adds the Pixel Snap feature and the periscope camera, it is actually heavier than the Pixel 9. Now, all the three phones also come with IP68 rating, but iPhone's is slightly better because with the iPhone, you can actually dunk it in water to up to 6 meters for 30 minutes, whereas with the Pixels, it's only 1.5 meter, which is basically the standard that most phones have when it comes to IP68 rating. Color-wise, whichever phone you like is dependent on your personal preference, but I really like the indigo blue color of the Pixel 10. The new color looks damn cool. And finally, one big win for both the Pixel phones is that you get USB Type-C 3.2 speeds at the bottom, whereas with the iPhone, it's still USB 2.0. Oh yeah, and of course with the Pixel 10, like I mentioned, Pixel Snap is a new addition, which is basically MagSafe on the iPhone 16, which is not available on the Pixel 9. Now, all the three phones use OLED technology for the display. With the Pixels, what you get is a larger 6.3-inch OLED panel with 1080p resolution and 120Hz refresh rate as well. Now, this is an adaptive sync refresh rate, which means that it can switch between 60 to 120Hz depending on what's required for the display itself. Now, in comparison, the iPhone 16 actually has a smaller 6.1-inch OLED panel, and it's a 1200p panel but with 60 Hz refresh rate. I sincerely hope that iPhone 17 comes with 120 Hz, because otherwise in 2025 60 Hz is very limiting. Now, in the natural profile, what I noticed is that the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 9 are very color accurate, which is also true for the iPhone, which has only one color profile. And these are flagship grade displays, so you don't have to worry about color accuracy at all. So if you're going to be photo editing, video editing, no problem. Now, as for HDR support, you get HDR 10 plus support on both the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 9 on both Netflix and YouTube. But with the iPhone 16, what you get is Dolby Vision support. And when we watched HDR videos side by side, the gradation is definitely best on the iPhone, followed by the Pixel 10, which also does a very good job, and lastly the Pixel 9. The brightness metrics have slightly gone up on the Pixel 10. You get 2000 nits as opposed to 1800 nits on the Pixel 9 in HBM mode, by the way, and you get 3000 nits in HDR mode, which was 2700 nits with the Pixel 9. So basically what that means is that the iPhone 16 and the Pixel 10 are the brightest when you see them outdoors, and the Pixel 9 does feel dim. Like, I mean, even if the nits difference is not much, it does feel dim under direct sunlight. Another thing to notice is that all these three phones have terrible PWM dimming, because with the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 9 you get 240 Hz only, and with the iPhone you get 480 Hz only, and the Chinese manufacturers are just like way up ahead. Haptic feedback tuning on the Pixel 10 has improved by leaps and bounds. Just like how I felt with the Pixel 10 Pro XL, the Pixel 10's haptic feedback is excellent. It's definitely better than the iPhone 16 as well. In fact, this time around, Pixel has improved the quality of the top speaker. So with the Pixel 10, what you get is a very good stereo sound, which beats the iPhone 16 for the very first time. It sounds louder, it sounds richer and fuller. Take a listen to it for yourself. Also, one advantage with Android phones in general, which is true for the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 9, is that you get support for LDAC, a Bluetooth high-res codec, which Apple doesn't support. Alright, now to talk about the performance with the Pixel 10, now what you get is the new Tensor G5 chip. And the good thing is that it is actually made on TSMC's 3nm fabrication process. So Google has finally moved away from Samsung's foundry. Of course, with the Pixel 9, what we got was the Tensor G4, and with Apple, we have the A18. Now, what Google says is that the Tensor G5 has a 34% faster CPU, 60% faster TPU, but there is no word on the GPU performance. Also, while you do get LPDDR5X RAM type, the base Pixel just gets UFS 3.1 storage. Only the Pro models get UFS 4.0. So this is definitely disappointing. Anyway, we ran some benchmarks. Let's take a look at them. In Geekbench, the A18 dominates, so the iPhone comes out on top. Pixel 10's Tensor G5 comes in second, and the Pixel 9's G4, of course, comes in last. Now, if you look at the scores of the G5 against the G4, and you can see that there is a 30% improvement in the multi-core performance. Now, since Google mentioned that the TPU is more powerful now, we also ran, AI benchmarks this time with the Pocket Pal app. So we ran the Llama 3.23 billion instruct model, and iPhone scored 12.56 tokens per second. Pixel 10 came in second at 5.32, and Pixel 9 came in last at 2.38. Obviously, the iPhone's AI processing seems faster, but you know it, I know it. Google actually does offer good AI experiences, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Regardless, I feel like the Tensor G5's AI performance has improved by a lot. Now, while Google didn't mention anything about the GPU, we still gave it a hard time with the Genshin Impact test, where we played the game for 30 minutes at highest graphics and targeting 60 frames per second. Now, in that, we noticed that the iPhone was the smoothest and it's mostly running at 60 FPS. But unfortunately, we don't have, benchmark numbers to show for it because there are no tools available for the iPhone that are easy to use. But regardless, with the Pixel 10, what we got was 46.6 FPS, which is actually lower than what we got with the Pixel 10 Pro XL, which means that the Pixel 10 is actually throttling performance because there is no vapor cooling chamber inside. And therefore, it's also getting much hotter. It actually crossed 45 degrees. Pixel 9 also touches about 44 degrees odd, and the average FPS is lower at 40.1 frames per second. Now, one advantage of the Tensor G5 is definitely that the power efficiency has improved. And in fact, with the Pixel 10, you also do get a larger battery compared to the Pixel 9. And therefore, we're also getting better battery life. So we're getting anywhere between 5.5 hours to 6 hours of screen on time compared to the Pixel 9, which of course does at best 5 hours of screen on time. iPhone's also in the similar ballpark of 6 hours of screen on time, but of course, you have to remember that iPhone has a 60 Hz display. So even if you get better battery life, if you drop down the display refresh rate to 60 Hz on the Pixel, you will definitely get 7 hours of screen on time. iPhone 16 and Pixel 10 are matched in battery life, whereas the Pixel 9 actually, lags behind. The other new addition to the Pixel 10 that I really like is the Pixel Snap feature. Of course, it's very similar to iPhone's MagSafe, and essentially what this enables is wireless charging with magnetic technology, which means that you can just immediately attach any, magnetic accessories to the back of the phone. We also tried out a few other aftermarket MagSafe accessories like a power bank, and all of that works absolutely fine with the Pixel 10. But yes, unlike the Pixel 10 Pro XL, you only get support for Qi 2, which means, and not Qi 2.2, which means that you can only get 15 watt wireless charging speeds and not 25 watts. Now, wired charging speeds have also improved on the Pixel 10. Now you get 30 watt wired charging speeds as opposed to 27 watts that was there on the Pixel 9. And the iPhone supports 25 watt charging speeds. All of these are in the same ballpark, and charging the phone from 0 to 100% takes about 1 hour 30 minutes on all the three phones. Now, talking about the network capabilities of the Pixel 10, it has definitely improved because you get a lot of 5G WAN support, which is good. But you also do get very good reception, which is what we noticed with the phone. Now, of course, so Airtel and Jio 5G work absolutely fine. As for Wi-Fi, what you get is Wi-Fi 6E support on both the Pixel 9 and the Pixel 10. But with the iPhone 16, what you get is Wi-Fi 7, which is the latest standard. The Pixel 10 also has improved the Bluetooth to Bluetooth 6.0 now, which is far better than Bluetooth 5.3 that was there on the Pixel 9. Alright, the cameras on the Pixel 10 are slightly controversial, and I know that a lot of people are disappointed with certain decisions that Google has made. Now, a lot of people will be happy that it has a proper triple camera setup now, just like the Xiaomi 15 does, the Samsung Galaxy S25 does. So what you get is a primary, ultra-wide and telephoto. The telephoto is basically a 10.8 megapixel 5x periscope camera, and the problem actually is the fact that the primary camera sensor is a much smaller sensor now compared to the Pixel 9, and the ultra-wide has also been downgraded from a 48 megapixel ultra-wide to a 13 megapixel one. iPhone, on the other hand, of course, has these dual cameras on the rear, the primary and the ultra-wide, and of course you get a selfie camera on the front, which is available on 3 phones. Anyway, let's jump to the pictures and see if these changes that Google has made to the Pixel 10 actually affects the final output, because the Tensor G5 has a new ISP now. Anyway, with the primary camera, the iPhone's 24 megapixel outputs actually help it capture more details compared to the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 9. But between the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 9, the Pixel 9 has more details thanks to the larger sensor. And this is exactly what we were concerned about with the smaller sensor on the Pixel 10. And this also affects the 2x in sensor crop because the iPhone obviously does it the best, followed by the Pixel 9 and then the Pixel 10. Now, thankfully, because the Pixel 10 has a 5x periscope camera, obviously the 5x shots look better than the iPhone 16 and the Pixel 9. And if you want to zoom further, you can zoom up to 8x on the Pixel 9 and the iPhone 16. And obviously at that zoom ratio, the Pixel 10 with its 5x camera does better. In fact, the Pixel 10 can zoom up to 20x with Super S zoom. Now, talking about color reproduction on all the three phones, they're largely true to life, but the difference is in the white balance because iPhone shoots warmer pictures compared to the Pixel 9 and 10, both of which shoot slightly towards the cooler side. But yeah, I think I like the Pixel 10's color reproduction the best. Now, with the new ISP, HDR performance has improved on the Pixel 10 compared to the Pixel 9. And this is true across all the senses, not just the primary, but even the selfie camera. The HDR performance is actually better. Now, talking about shooting friends and family, skin tones are best captured by the iPhone. iPhone continues to win here, followed by the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 9. Remember how I had mentioned with the Pixel 9, when you're shooting brown skin tones, you had a red skin problem that you had to contend with. That red skin problem is still there with the Pixel 10, but it is far less now, so therefore it is better than the Pixel 9. Now, one area where I wanted Google to improve was in the portraits, but nope. There is no improvement whatsoever with the Pixel 10's portraits. It's as bad as the Pixel 9. You can shoot at 1x, 2x and 3x, but you can't even use the 5x camera for portraits, which is bad. So basically, when you're looking at the portrait semantic segmentation and the quality of the portrait itself, the iPhone 16 is the best here. And comparing the Pixel 9 and the Pixel 10, yeah, both are really bad. I don't really want to pick one over the other because the edge cutout itself is really bad. The algorithm hasn't improved. Now, when you're shooting low light shots with the primary camera, the iPhone comes out on top. It just captures more details, is brighter, it's superb. And the second best is the Pixel 9 here and not the Pixel 10. And that's because the Pixel 10 has a smaller sensor. So basically it cannot capture as much light as the Pixel 9 can. Again, low light performance takes a hit on the Pixel 10. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Again, when you zoom with the phones, then at 2x, iPhone is superior, followed by the Pixel 9 and the 10. However, at 5x and above, the Pixel 10 zoom performance is definitely better in low light. Now let's talk about the ultra wide. And here, the Pixel 9's large sensor definitely captures the most amount of details and better quality pictures. The second best is actually the Pixel 10 here. It's like a slight bit of a downgrade from the Pixel 9 and not too much of a downgrade compared to the primary camera downgrades. However, the iPhone 16's low light ultra wide shots are the best. In fact, low light performance across lenses seems to be the best on the iPhone compared to the Pixel 9 and the Pixel 10. By the way, all the three can also shoot macro with the ultra wide angle camera, and I actually like the iPhone's macro over the other two since it has a shorter focusing distance and can go in really close to the subject. Now, selfies are great on all the three, but I prefer the iPhone's skin tones over the Pixel phones. Pixel 9 and Pixel 10 skin tones and details look exactly the same, no difference here. Selfie portraits, again, iPhone shoots the best, followed by the Pixel 10 with the better edge detection, and Pixel 9 was the worst among the three. Now, to talk about video recording, iPhone is the clear winner in terms of video. I think Pixel 10 does a valiant job, but not enough. So with the primary camera, you can shoot 4K 60 FPS with all the three phones, but iPhone's picture quality is the best. However, with ultra wide angle video recording, Pixel 9's 48 megapixel ultra wide angle camera actually shoots the best video, followed by the iPhone and then the Pixel 10. By the way, since the Pixel 10's ultra wide angle camera has been downgraded, you can only shoot at 4K 30 FPS with the ultra wide and not at 4K 60 FPS. The selfie camera videos are the best on the iPhone, followed by the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 9. But zoom videos, if you look at it, of course, the Pixel 10 does the best because it's got a dedicated zoom camera, a 5x zoom camera no less. Now, finally, low light videos are once again best on the iPhone, followed by the Pixel 10 and then the Pixel 9. See, between the three, if you ask me, I think that the iPhone 16 is the most consistent performer of the three, and especially because it does video recording so well, I would say that the overall better camera is still the iPhone 16, even if it lacks that dedicated telephoto. But if you want variety, since the Pixel 10 has a dedicated periscope camera, you can get better zoom shots than the other two phones. Also, the HDR performance has improved. But I'm really disappointed with the fact that the Pixel 9 actually still takes better quality ultra wide angle shots and primary camera shots compared to the Pixel 10 because, the cameras are downgraded. By the way, one thing that you get with the Pixel 10, which is the camera coach feature, with the Pixel 10 Pro XL, you get ProRes zoom, which is not available on the Pixel 10, by the way. So with camera coach, what camera coach essentially does is that it coaches you through a photo. So if you point your phone to a scene, it can actually guide you into taking the right photo. Firstly, it will ask you what kind of photo you want to take. You select that, and then it has multiple steps that you can go through. Now with this, the problem is, of course, a philosophical one. What really is a photo? But more importantly, the other problem is that you can actually actually use it to learn the techniques of photography, especially when you're shooting a still subject. But if you want to shoot action subjects, then the camera coach won't come in handy. Now, both the Pixels are currently running on Android 16 when we were testing it, and with the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 9, both you get 7 years of update promise. Of course, with the Pixel 10, you'll have 1 more year of updates. And with the iPhone 16, Apple doesn't promise anything, but it gives like the longest software update out there. And right now we're running the iOS 26 update beta 1. For some odd reason, it's not updated to the latest beta. There is some sort of glitch that's happening on the profile that's running on the iOS 26 update. But with iOS 26, you know that it's liquid glass and, you know, really crazy on the animations and stuff like that. So it does look very good. But yeah, both iOS and Pixel are pretty threadbare. And what defines these two right now are the AI experiences, especially with something like the Pixel, because there are a ton of new AI features that Google did announce at the launch, but many of which we couldn't actually test. For example, we did test the camera coach. That worked absolutely fine. And then there's this, you can add background music to voice recording, something that we tested as well. So these are a few features that we tested, but a lot of features, like for example, Magic Queue wasn't working. It's supposed to be working, but at least in our build, it wasn't working. And even features like call notes, call messages, voice-based image editing, all of those things are currently not working or not available at launch in India. This is definitely a letdown considering that we are reviewing the devices and we want to talk about these experiences. But maybe in my long-term review, the opinion could change after these features come in. So yeah, let's wait and watch. So which software experience you prefer definitely boils down to, like, you know, whether you're team Android or team iOS. I'm firmly on team Android, have always been on team Android, unlike what many people think about actually. iOS has always been my second phone just to test things out. Not always. In fact, iOS used to be my primary phone, but not anymore. I'm team Android. So let me break this down for you. If you're coming from something like the Pixel 8 or older, like the Pixel 7 or the Pixel 6, then upgrading to the Pixel 10 makes a lot of sense. However, if you have the Pixel 9 right now, then I don't think you really need to upgrade to the Pixel 10 unless you really care for that 5x periscope lens and the improvements made to the Tensor G5. But yeah, if you're confused between the iPhone 16 and the Pixel 10, both are largely similar, but the iPhone 16 definitely has a more premium feel. It's lighter, it's slimmer. It's also got better performance on offer. But yeah, I mean, the Pixel 10 definitely offers a proper telephoto camera and a higher refresh rate as well of 120Hz, which I think a lot of people do care about. So overall, the Pixel 10 has a lot of side grades, a lot of downgrades, a lot of upgrades, everything included in the same phone. So it's a different kind of package and you have to look at what you want, especially from a premium Android flagship experience. I think I like the Pixel 10. There is nothing wrong with the phone per se, but a little more performance, headroom would have been nicer to have. And of course, instead of downgrading the primary camera and the ultra wide, if they had kept the same primary camera and the ultra wide, it would have been better. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Which one would you pick from these three? Of course, not the Pixel 9 now, but between the Pixel 10 and the iPhone 16. Also, the iPhone 17 is just around the corner and our comparison on that one will also definitely come on time. All right, that's it from me for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.